Guys, I keep track of the meta a lot, right? What is changing and stuff like that. And I always find some weird rune setups for champions or just ones that are pretty underrated. I especially find these in Korea actually, where they play a lot of different stuff. So that is what we're going to look at today. I've been saving them up. We're going to be looking at the recent ones that I have all together in one video. The champions are going to be stuff like Aatrox. Everyone considers him pretty garbage right now. He had a mini rework. Didn't really do that much, but he's actually not that bad. Korea play a very weird style. It's a weird like bruiser version of Aatrox. It's not glass cannon, attack speed, and full lifesteal like we had before. It is still full damage, but with health and stuff in there at the same time, like rushing a Trinity force. It does make a lot of sense. It makes him way more bursty with sheen damage, and he can survive a lot more punishment with this setup, but he still has a lot of the natural lifesteal and damage that he has from his kit. For the items, we have two different styles, right? The Trinity, Sterex, Titanic, Hydra kind of build, then tanky afterwards. That is a damage bruiser 101, and because of the Trinity and Sterex damage, you actually do a lot. The other is a little bit more normal. We have like Blade the Ring King, Phantom Dancer, Black Lever with things like Sterex or a Shiv after that. Runes are often Grasp of the Undying. Like you want to be fighting for a good amount of time, so you get a lot of use out of that, but also you want to take Bone Plating, Second Wind, and Revitalize to increase your healing. It is actually a really sick page. This setup makes him pretty good early to mid game. It's a lot different to what we used to with the old Aatrox, and it's definitely not a thing that is paid a lot, right? But he can be good. He probably needs another look at, another rework from Riot, but this build does work, and it works well to be fair. Kindred is going to be another uncommon jungler, but she is really underrated. It feels like the biggest issue is not really about her, it's just that she isn't good to pick up and play. It takes a while to get used to how she works and how her damage feels, but now she is mostly played more crit-sided with Warrior. Honestly, in a meta with a fair amount of tanks and aftershock and stuff, her percentage damage should actually do really well. You're also going to be building a red smite, which is awesome on Kindred, like with the auto-attacking style, a Shiv, Runins, Infinity Edge, Cleaver, just like an AD carry really. Press the attack as well was buff last patch. It must have helped her make a bit better at the same time, but sudden impact procs a lot. Like you have a really good rune setup for Kindred. With this way of playing her, you're going to be a pretty decent early to mid game with her damage, and really good late game now with her scaling from that mini rework, range increase, and also a lot of percentage damage. It's not going to be everybody's cup of tea, and I know that it's a bit different, but again, not as bad as she might actually seem. If you get a good Kindred on your team, she will do really well, and you'll think, oh wow, this champion is actually good, but a bad one will probably show, honestly, and then you'll be thinking, yeah, this champion actually sucks. Another one that is kind of different is Kog'Maw mid. It's not as popular, but one guy specifically in Challenger does this a lot at the moment. AP Kog'Maw has a lot of damage, and the new runes should in theory have helped him out a bit, so I was kind of surprised to not see him much. Recently, we also had the new AP items come in, which seem to have helped even more. Like you have your Archangel's Rush, which is way more legit with cooldown reduction now and a ton of mana. Plus you have the new Leandries, which you have the damage amp after a few ultimates, has a really good synergy with Kog'Maw, Rylai's, Deathcap after that. When you have those items, you have like your Archangels, your Leandries, your Rylai's, Deathcap, your Void stuff. That is a really good solid build for a poke champion now, especially one like Kog'Maw. Rune-wise, it's harder to tell because we're just looking at one guy really, but it's like taking Comet or Spellbook, probably a bit more playstyle based actually which one you want to take, but he does also always get Presence of Mind from Precision as his secondary tree. You have free mana there to spam his ultimate, which in a fight is absolutely massive. I'm surprised we hadn't thought about that before, but getting that much free mana with his ultimates and how the mana works with that is actually ridiculous. AP Kog'Maw is honestly one of the more fun builds in this video. It's probably one of the most fun builds in the game, honestly. It's a little bit weak early, but with a few items, it can really pump out some insane damage from very far away. Okay, so next up, we're going to be taking a little break from the underrated picks to look at some weird keystones on some more standard champions. Garen, I kind of count as standard, I think, but this one with Predator, this is one of the highest win rate keystones, though it's not as popular. The idea is that you push really hard and you're going to roam endlessly. You combine that with your Q move speed, maybe swiftness boots as well, and you've got a really, really fast and deadly Garen. It sounds a little strange, but it's a very fun playstyle. It actually works as well. You just run around smacking people, and there isn't much that they can do to get away from you. You can also have Taric with Glacial Augment. It has some good synergy with his passive. Every spell cast gives him some bonus damage with his autos, which in a proper fight actually adds up to quite a lot. The idea is that you're going to be slowing them with Glacial, letting you hit them for longer, getting more damage from your passive, and even making a follow-up stun easier to hit. You're also going to be adding more protection in teamfights, slowing whoever is diving onto your AD carry, which is good, and he doesn't really have to take up the keystone, so this is a bit of a different feel. Now, Warwick is played a lot right now, but with Press the Attack, right, he falls off as you get further into the game. Because of that, his natural actual damage doesn't really scale as well, and eventually people are going to rip through your defense as well. Dark Harvest gives you a bit more late game threat, letting his power early do the work there and then letting that move into Dark Harvest after. It will make you do some serious damage. It's a more scaling keystone, which sounds weird, but when you have a good early game jungler, you can probably get away with that a little bit more. Obviously, Press Attack is a more well-rounded keystone, which is why it's more popular, but Dark Harvest is a bit more fun and it actually gives you a lot of damage. Darius is kind of lucky that he can use a lot of different keystones, but one that we rarely see is fleet footwork. It isn't as common, but it has a good win rate in Korea. The idea would be that you chase people down with their move speed, and it lets you stick to them properly as well. I guess if you look at it like this way, AD carries take it for the healing and move speed to run away. Darius is taking it for the move speed to run into the fight. Even though it is not adding damage directly, it does make him more deadly because he can get more of his own kit damage out anyway, and apparently it works quite well. Last one we're going to talk about before we go back to some other picks, Camille. We always see Comet on her right now, but there are two other cool keystones that can work. Kleptomancy is obviously for the gold aspect. You can fly in, proc it a few times actually with your trades, and then the idea would be that you use the extra gold to get a lead. It isn't really that common, but it does win a lot of games actually. And the other one we're going to talk about is Press Attack. It was how we used to play her a lot, so it's not that weird, but it is a lot better after the buffs again, so you may want to give it another go. Back to the underrated champions, and we're going to look at Twitch, which feels a bit weird to put him here after how beast he was last season, season 7, but he is one of the best again, and already played in about 2% of games in Korea. He is basically the best AD carry past 30 minutes again, which is like 3+ items by the way in a game. Before then he does suck some major dong. I don't think I'll be spending too much time on this one really. Most people know Twitch, but he is one of the least played in season 8. It's kind of how it was back in preseason a little bit. Runes, Infinity Edge, Shiv, full crit, scaling build, and then Fleet Footwork is a bit more popular, but Press Attack is really good. Press Attack buffs will have helped out a lot here, and it has some really good synergy with Twitch and his poison. I guess the way to look at this one is he used to be a monster, then wasn't anymore, now he is again. To some people, he's definitely not going to be underrated at all, and I get that, but to others, they'll probably never see him, even though he is really good. We're going to stick with the kind of AD carry theme. Well, okay, that sounds really weird, but Karma mid is a bit of a strange one. It used to be kind of meta, but then fell out again. Part of the reason it wasn't as good because we had a shift in the AD carry meta, which meant she wasn't needed, but the other side is the AP item rework that just came through. This is how she ties into AD carries. Now we have auto attack AD carries like Twitch to buff with sensor. She has the new death cap, the new Ludens to add more damage to her kit. That makes her scale a lot better and makes her more useful. Build wise, it is going to be things like Athene's rush into sensor, basically the go-to for mid Karma and Korea. It will give you a decent spike, but also buff your AD carry a ton at that point. Then you've got Ludens for cooldown reduction and poke, which is really good with the new Ludens, death cap, or even redemption afterwards. There is no real surprise though. It's Avery here for the rune choice with inspiration secondary, but actually taking a lot of minion dematerializer to help with the wave clear. The idea is that you're going to be grouping with your team, you're going to buff them, you're going to team fight while your base damage is still doing a lot, and then hope that your AD carry or whoever you're shielding can carry the game. This is a really good pick for duo queue right now, maybe not for solo depending on your elo, but you'd be surprised. Like Karma can do a lot of damage, you just can't really end the game very easily unless you get really fed. Alright, finally, we're going to look at some more weird keystones on normal-ish champions. So, Predator Karthus. Not really just a Korean thing, but it surprisingly works. You don't actually have to roam with this like you would think. You put it on, you press R, and the damage will apply from your ultimate. It works because of a change back in 8.1, where if the bonus damage is triggered by AoE, it will prioritize the lowest health target that it hits. So with Karthus, that means that Predator will snipe the lowest person, making it much more likely you nab the kill. Even though Arcane Comet is kind of similar to Aerie, I've noticed a few more people taking it recently on and it wins a lot. It does make sense because it adds more damage like Aerie does, but your Q poke is going to be even better with this. The slow from the boomerang also means the Comet is more likely to hit, which is good, and it's really just similar to why Camille is going to take Comet, to be honest. Not something we see a lot, but it does make sense. Trundle isn't exactly popular as a champion, but Lethal Tempo can open up a lot of really fun builds to play with him. The synergy is there with his kit, it makes sense, the win rate shows it works, and this is even more on jungle Trundle as well. His ganks are okay, he can farm really well, he does a lot more damage than people think. He's a really good teamfight champion to have on your team to get through tanks, and Lethal Tempo just adds to that. So with Jax, we've talked about Kleptomancy before a while ago, but after it got nerfed, people stopped using it, even though it's actually still very good. So this is kind of just a reminder that you can actually take Klepto and it is good. Glacial Augment is very different though. It's basically just like saying, okay, Jax has enough damage anyway from his kit and his abilities, so when he jumps on top of you, you are completely screwed because you're just not going to get away. It would definitely seem a little bit troll, but like it could actually add more damage to your fight because you can stick to somebody properly and give you more time to be whacking them. Same reason like San uses this as well. Last last one we're going to look at for the weird keystones is Xin Zhao. Even with the pressy attack buffs, Phase Rush is actually a really good keystone for Xin. It's going to speed him up when he jumps in and tries to burst them so he can chase them a little bit better. It is more about surviving, running around a fight, chasing them, I guess, rather than just full out damage. You'd be surprised, but Phase Rush is a weird thing to get used to. Like, it feels a lot different, even though it's the same champion. It's a very different playstyle. Diana is definitely underrated, especially at lower ranks, but most people play her like in Europe and North America with Nashes first. Korea don't. They go for the full damage build, stacking ability power, and honestly, they play her a lot like a Fizz. It gives her more mobility, a bit more like team fight burst damage, makes her damage more upfront, I guess, and it feels like it should be a bit easier to play as well. It is Proto Belt first, which is the mobility part as well. You can get in range a bit easier, use it for damage, Lichbane, Zhonya's as her core. Then you would go things like Spellbinder, Deathcap, Morello, maybe Void Staff as well, even a Leandris would work. It ties into Electrocute as well, sudden impact, like the rune page is all about that bursting people down. This is kind of one of those face roll champions who isn't that difficult to pick up and play either. She can do a lot of damage, can really stomp games, and is good at lower ranks for those reasons. She hasn't really played that much, especially at higher ranks, but at lower ranks, she can be really good. She is always one of those mid laners who is underrated at like gold and below. Anyway, that is going to wrap up the ones I have been collecting recently. Hopefully you enjoyed a look into what isn't standard, but can still work really well and have some fun with. Thank you for watching the video, but for now, I will leave you with the robots.